Dead Space Martyr by B.K. Evanson is the first of the Dead Space and Dead Space novelizations that we've seen so far from this survival horror game from Visceral Games. Now, we've seen tons of stuff on Dead Space. I mean, the promotions on Dead Space alone, when they came out with the first game, there was the movie that came out right with it. Since then, there have been comic books, action figures, now a sequel movie, a sequel comic book, and along with that, they've released a novelization, not of the games, but more of providing the backstory to information we found out during the games. So anyone who's played Dead Space or in any part of the Dead Space universe knows the name Michael Altman. If you don't, obviously you didn't pay attention when you were playing. You also know about unitology and convergence and the marker and such. So a lot of the backstory I don't have to go into as much. In fact, storyline overall is basic. We find out how and when the first marker was found and the effects of the very first marker. That is the main overall storyline, and what happened to Michael Altman and how he became who he did is all told in B.K. Evanson's Dead Space Martyr. So that's basically storyline. You know it, you kind of have an idea what's going to happen, so we're not going to go a lot into that. What I more want to go to is in what you're going to expect from this book. Great writing. B.K. Evanson is a great author. His descriptions are sometimes really gruesomely horrifying and very, very in touch with the characters' feelings and gives you a real sense of who they are, their background, why they are acting the way they are. Consistent characterization. We don't go, well, even though there's some really odd actions, we don't ever question why, because it always fits in with who they are, which is a great job, especially someone writing into a game universe that is as in touch and in detail with the psychology of a person as the Dead Space world is. So he does a great job of that. One of the other things you have to warn a person is if you are expecting what you play in Dead Space, that's not what you're getting from this book. 80% of the book is not horror at all. I would call this book mainly a cross between Michael Crichton's writing and Tom Clancy. It is a thriller, but with more of the emphasis on government treachery, secrecy, spying, that type of stuff. About 20% of the book, towards the end, do we finally hit what you would normally expect from a Dead Space game, comic book, anything. The creatures coming out and ripping someone apart, the various types of creatures that appear because of the marker. The rest of the book is about the psychology of Michael Altman, what's happening to them, dreams, how people treat the marker, what is the marker, what is going on, trying to discover the mystery of it and trying to discover about it and the history of it. It is nothing like the Dead Space game and even Dead Space 2. So if you go in looking for a horror novel, you are going into the wrong place, which is a big warning for Dead Space fans, because I was shocked by this, but I was still very pleased. It is a good read. It is very fascinating, but it is does not match the Dead Space or even Dead Space 2, in which Dead Space 2 was less of the complete horror aspect than Dead Space 1 was, and we went a little bit more into the psychology of Isaac. But still, it is a good read. It is worth it. Characters like Shava, the boy, the Bruja, the old woman who seriously disappears, Ada, Michael Altman's girlfriend, all of them, Fields, this guy works with Michael Altman, all of them, what happens to them, their characters, the complexity of the storyline they make up, how they all add up and end up leading up to the end, what they cause, the effects, that bring us a little bit more further into what happens in the first game. It's a fascinating read, entertainment, quick read. It should only take you a day or two. It is a little bit long, but it's still a really quick read. So, if you love the Dead Space world, if you love mystery thrillers, if you love government secrets novels, or if you're just looking for a horror novel, it's there. It's just, you gotta get to the end. Come by, pick it up.